Hello everyone, I am Dr. Bland. Welcome back to my documentation of my 30 days, 1,000 calorie diet. I am a board certified obesity medicine physician, and I figured that since this calorie restriction, low calorie diet being 1,200 calories, very low calorie diet being somewhere in the range of 800, is a thing that is often prescribed to people either by force through surgery, if they're doing bariatric surgery where they just have physical restrictions where they have to restrict their calories, or through just you need to do it by sheer willpower in order to be able to get to certain goals that you might have. Since these low calorie diets, restrictive diets are often prescribed by physicians, I figured I would go ahead and go through it and see if it was the kind of thing that I would change my mind about after I had been through it, document everything from my muscle loss by tracking body composition and all that. And I am now on day four here. And today to me was the most interesting day. Actually, in terms of how I actually feel pretty great. I have now spent 4 days of under 1,000 calories. I was actually closer to 8 for most of those days. My first 3 days, I worked 12 hours in a row, 3 12s in a row. And in those days, I was telling my wife that I was tired, but it wasn't a emotional willpower kind of thing for me to stay within my calorie restrictions there. So one of the things that I'll be using in my obesity medicine practice as an option for people who just want an easy, simple thing is medically made meal replacement options. Some of those require mixing with water and heating and all that sort of stuff. I am incredibly lazy, and the thing that I prefer, if I'm going to do a meal replacement at all, I prefer to use bars, okay? And so in my mind, I just take my 5 bars to work. They're about 150, 160 calories a piece. They each have about 15 grams of protein. And so I was getting 75 grams of protein those days. That's actually a little lower than I really want to be in terms of ratios and all that. But it is the simplest, easiest thing for someone who's not going to be heating up meals, and I'm not going to prep food. I'm just not. So I acknowledge my limitations, and so I work within that, which is throw 5 bars in my bag and I just eat them throughout the day, and then I'm done. But I didn't have to deal with the pressure of finding something on a menu at a restaurant when I'm doing that, right? I just pull a bar out of a bag, and whatever bar is in my hand is the one I eat, and then I move on with my life. Today was the first day I wasn't at work when I was trying to do this, and I realized that the hard part I had was trying to, it was more work to find the right food than it was to eat the right food and not eat something else, right? The choice, the decision to make the choice, saying, hey, I will not eat above my goals for today, that choice was easy, but the implementation of that choice was actually kind of hard. It took some work, right? So I decided I wanted to grab something for breakfast while I was running some errands around. And I said, well, you know what? One of the things I love is a Chick-fil-A egg white grill. And then I looked at the calories on that, and I saw that it was 300 calories. I said, man, 300 calories? I'm burning a huge chunk of my calories for the day. And I'm trying to meet my wife for lunch later and have a little bit of a lunch date with my wife, take her out. And I find, man, if I burn 300 calories, I'm pretty restricted for later in the day. So I started looking through that and figured some ways that if I killed the McMuffin on it, just put some jalapeno sauce on it, I could drop that down to about 150 calories. And then my protein was still higher than it, because that's the same amount of calories that my bars are, my replacement bars. And I had more protein because, with the Egg McMuffin, it's about 26 grams of protein. Taking away the McMuffin isn't going to really take off that much protein. So more protein than the average 15 on my meal replacement bars. And then I went and I looked through, what am I going to do for lunch? Where am I going to take my wife for lunch? And we love having kind of Mediterranean, Middle Eastern food. She's got some family from there, and the thing is, a lot of that is pretty heavily rice based, and so I didn't think that was going to really work for me. And I'm a big sushi fan. I have been kind of moving away from the rolls and moving into and I'm pronouncing this wrong, please forgive me. If someone knows how to pronounce it better, tell me below. Nigiri, I'm not really sure how to say that. The big piece of fish when it's on the rice. And that is what I would normally eat. And I'd get a sampler of that, and whatever the chef gave me is what I would eat. But then I looked at all the rice really throws me over my calories. And so I started to think I should get into some sashimi or something like that. And sashimi is literally the piece of fish just on a plate. And I figured I would try that. And when I did the math on that, it looks like that most of those pieces of fish, because it varies by cut of fish, is somewhere between 30 to 40 calories a piece. And so I could get a decent sashimi meal and still be well within my calorie goals for the day. I did the math on it all, and by the time I ate what I ate and then she had her portion of it, I still ended up okay, and I had a little bit left, and so I had a bar for dinner. Again, sitting at my house, I have a full kitchen in there. I have a fridge full of food. I am too lazy to cook. So I acknowledge my limitations there. I'm just not going to do it. And so I figured that I would just go ahead and grab a bar for dinner, and that's what I did. And in terms of energy, I feel fine. I don't have any issues right now. We'll see if that hits me in the future. My wife and I actually have a trip coming up next week, and it will be interesting to see how I navigate that in another city. But I found that the hardest part of this was pre-planning. Pre-planning meals and pre-planning what you're going to eat if you're trying to operate within a self-set diet restriction is a really difficult thing. And other than just keto, which I've done a couple of times in my life where the only thing I did was just eliminate bread and just eat whatever I felt like, doing a literal calorie count takes a little more work. And so I think if this is a thing that you're going to hop into, just account a little bit for some of the mental. I probably spent 15 minutes kind of researching how much different things cost. So if I'm going to go to a Mexican restaurant, if I'm going to go to a burger place, what can I do? And trying to nail that all down. I think some of that stuff will become more intuitive in the future as I get into it. But for now, I think that I'm doing pretty good. So that is day 4. Feel free to kind of subscribe to this playlist if this is something you want to do. Hit me up with questions if you got going below. But day 4, 1,000 calories in a row, and I'm feeling pretty good. Have a nice day, guys.